Hey, thanks for stopping by. My name is Tyler and I am super excited today because I am actually going to show you guys one of my projects. As you might know from my recent videos, I've been doing a lot of Terraform work lately, and I wanted to take some time to actually walk you guys through one of the projects I've done. So this project was all about building the most highly available website I could, and that involved having a fleet of EC2 instances and auto-scaling groups and load balancers and CloudFront and even a geo-proximity routing protocol with Route 53. So I'm going to show you guys all the Terraform I wrote to set up all of this infrastructure, kind of some of the things I ran into that were tricky, point out a few important pieces of information if you want to try it yourself. Yeah, I'm super excited. I will mention I won't go super in depth with every single line of code because if I did that, this video would be like 45 minutes long, but we will go through kind of parts of it as I'm walking through the code and doing the demonstrations. So if you do want a more technical explanation, feel free to leave a comment and I am more than happy to go in depth on, I guess, what lines of code were required to make that part of the system work. So without further ado, let's get into it here. I am going to go ahead and switch my camera over to the computer. I hope you guys enjoy. Alright guys, here we are in our AWS management console. I do want to apologize for this camera angle. I don't have any software for screen recording. I know it wouldn't take much to download it, but we're just going to do this for now because this is what we're working with. So, apologies out of the way, let's start off in Cloud9 because I used Cloud9 as my IDE environment for both of my Terraform scripts that were required to make this whole thing work. You can see we have our North America environment and our Tokyo environment. And we're going to go ahead and actually get these fired up here, and then we'll go into a infrastructure diagram and I'm going to explain why we have two Cloud9 environments. So we're going to let these guys load up here, and then when they're all loaded up, I will go ahead and pop open Lucidchart and we'll go through the actual diagram of what's going on. Okay, so here we are in Lucidchart, and let's kind of go through what happens with this project. So the end result, as I told you, is a very highly available website, and let's talk about kind of why it is so highly available. So we have our users here, and our users are going to visit a HTTPS URL. That's going to be our CloudFront URL. It's going to hit CloudFront where it gets encrypted but with TLS, and then it hits a Route 53 geo-proximity routing protocol, which is actually super cool. We'll get into this more later, but a geo-proximity routing protocol basically will route your users to whichever location they want, or whichever location makes more sense for them to be in based on where they're located and based on where our sets of EC2 instances are located. So up on top here, let's see. Yep, this is our US region. So if we have a user in the US, that routing protocol, or Route 53 geo-proximity routing protocol, will forward the user to this application load balancer. And then this application load balancer will actually go ahead and send the user to one of 5 of these instances. So I have 2 here that are in an auto-scaling group. And the reason I can say strongly with this diagram that it is 2 is because my desired capacity for that auto-scaling group was only 2 instances. So unless something crazy happens, there's only ever going to be 2 instances in that auto-scaling group. And then the other 3 options are going to be these guys right here, which were actually just manually configured with our Terraform script, but they are still part of the target group for our load balancer. So that's one option. We can either be routed to our US East region and be sent to one of 5 of these instances, or say we're all the way in Asia and we're actually closer to Japan than we are North America. In that case, our Route 53 routing protocol would actually send the user over here to this application load balancer. And this application load balancer, just like the one in US East 1, It has our 5 instances here, 2 of which are in a auto-scaling group, and the other 3 which are just set up with normal Terraform configurations. So hope that makes sense just kind of from a diagram perspective. I do have some other random stuff here that is not related to this project, but this is all going to be, I guess, this project. This is what this project is made up of. So without further ado, let's go ahead and actually hop back into our Cloud9 environments. And oh good, we have errors. Let's try to reload that here. And I'm going to talk about why we need 2 environments. Why can I not write all my Terraform in one environment? Well, one thing I learned during this project is you can't do multi-region deployments in Terraform just because of provider restrictions. So what I mean by that is, I think it's in our Tokyo region here. So when we specify our provider in Terraform, we either give it a region or it will pick a default region, which you can see in our North America environment over here. It's just going to go ahead and use the default region. And you can't switch the provider midway through a deployment. So you either have to use something like modules, or you can do what I did and just use 2 different development environments. I chose to do it this way because it's just a little bit easier for me to understand. I am absolutely not an expert on Terraform, but I do like to play around with it. So yeah, I wanted to go over that because that is a very important, I guess, piece of the puzzle if you do want to try this project yourself. If you do, go ahead and send me a message and I will get you the source code for this because I'm a big fan of sharing. So let's talk about what's going on with these scripts here. So starting off, we're making our VPC for all of our infrastructure. So obviously we need a VPC for our subnets and instances and internet gateways and all of that fun stuff. I did say before I would be a little bit brief explaining this because I would be here all day if I went super in depth, but you can see we also have our 3 different subnets over here that we can see in our lucid chart diagram. You can see those over here. I don't think I touched on that earlier, but we have US East 1D, US East 1E, and US East 1F. And the auto scaling group will just pick a random availability zone within our region. Back to our Tokyo environment. And moving down the list, we have internet gateways and route tables and route table associations, security group rules, and instances. All of this is all going to be instances. One thing I do want to touch on here is our user data. And what is our user data? What does this mean? So EC2 has a really cool function where when you set it up, you can specify something called user data, which is effectively a bootstrap protocol. And these are Linux instances, so it's pointing to looks like a text file, probably full of Linux code. And I can show you that text file right here actually. So let's see, it's looking for userdata3.txt. Well, let's go find that file and see what it's doing. So you can see here, this is just some Linux. It is installing Apache. And then real simple, it's just a little HTML script that will display some text on the screen that we will see later. So we do have 2 of these. And the reason we have 2 is because one of them here is going to be for our web servers that are set up with manual configuration, and one of them is actually going to be used for the web servers set up with the auto-scaling group. So that is why we have 2 of those there. So you can see right below that we do have our instances that are set up with manual configuration there. And then if we go down, let's skip past that here. Right over here, you can see this is all going to be our auto-scaling configuration. And you can see right there, boom, this says user data. And it is pointing to the user data 4 dot template file because, well, that is the file we need to say it is built with the load balancer, or with the auto-scaling group rather than manual configuration. So if we go back up here, we will find our load balancer. I just stopped by. There we go. Perfect. So you can see here we're building our load balancer, giving it security groups, giving it subnets, giving it a target group. It's looking for HTTP. We have our load balancer, attachments, and our listener. All of this super fun stuff here. And yeah, that's going to be our first script. So in order to deploy this infrastructure, we're going to go ahead and initiate Terraform. And then while this sets up, we will go ahead and talk about the other script. It's very similar, but just different enough where I should mention what the differences are. So then we're going to go ahead and plan and see what Terraform wants to set up here. Boom, reading all our stuff. Then we're going to go ahead and go Terraform apply. Boom, yes. All right. So this one is firing away. So let's go ahead and talk about the few differences that are in our North America script. So this one is interesting because it did require slightly different configuration here. So you can see most of it's the same. It really didn't change too much. We're seeing almost an exact copy paste of the last file, but this is where it gets interesting, is down here. So you can see our AWS Route 53 traffic policy right here, and we're not going to go too in depth on the JSON, but all of this right here is going to be our geo proximity routing policy. Those are the words I was looking for. And real quick, you can see we're getting our load balancers loaded in from various regions. We're specifying which region points to which resource. Once again, I won't go super in depth, but you can see that is our JSON. My JSON needs a lot of work because I haven't practiced it enough. But moving down, we also have our CloudFront distribution. So once again, right here, this is going to be our ACM certification. You can see we did some fancy stuff with text here that basically drops values in, so I didn't have to build a bunch of, or use variables. It's kind of just another way to drop text that already exists in the file into new places. So wanted to mention that. We can see we do have a hosted zone ID. Once again, cert validations, cache behavior, and right here you can see we're forwarding HTTP to HTTPS. So we're making it a little bit more secure with this script here. So hold on one second. Sorry about that. It was just getting a little bit noisy here in the backyard, but moving on, I think where we were just finishing up talking about the CloudFront distribution here. Yep, and then that is going to be our TLS version. I know there's newer ones, but that's just the one I went with because I got it to work super easy. So all of this down here is just kind of stuff that doesn't really apply. I commented a lot of it out, so hopefully we won't have that interfering. But now our Tokyo application load balancers should be complete. So let's talk about it. So our Tokyo stuff is done. So what do we have to do in North America to get these two regions to, I guess, talk to each other? Because we know we can't do it through Terraform, so we do have to be a little bit sneaky here and actually drag and drop our DNS name for our Tokyo load balancer into our North America Terraform environment. Oh, hey, look, there's all my code. Nice. And we're going to go ahead and actually, if I can get this to focus, we're going to be taking this number right here, that 152 number, because that is the only thing that changes in our URL every time we deploy this. So it's not a static value, so I do have to continue to change it every single time I want to want to deploy this infrastructure. But we're going to go ahead and take note of that number and paste it into our other environment here. So let's see. And I will mention that I'm kind of doing this in an uncut format. So I'm sure it's not a super crazy high production. Oh my goodness. You see that? It's not a super crazy high production video, but I think it's fun. I am still super excited to show you guys kind of what I've been up to. So we have this value copied and pasted. So over here in our North America environment, we're going to actually go over to variables here. We're going to take this number right here, which was outdated, and we're going to paste our new value in for our application load balancer. And in the script, you can actually see I use that. Yeah, right here. You can see we're using our DNS name for that. So without further ado, I think I just need to save this, and then we should be good to go and kind of run our environment here. So let's see if it is nice to me and we get it first try. I did just test this a minute ago, so everything should work. All right, looks like our plan went through just fine, and we're going to go hit apply. And then we're gonna go ahead and say yes. And boom, our infrastructure is now building. So while we wait for that, let's go, I believe that was the wrong tab. Nope, we're good. We're actually gonna go over here to CloudFront. And we're gonna watch our CloudFront distribution deploy in real time. So you can see we have no distributions right now, but as our Terraform script runs here, we will be able to see that CloudFront distribution actually be created in real time and pop into our console here. So there it is. Look at that. So here we are. It will take a minute to fully deploy, but you can see our distribution did apply, and we do have our domain name here. So let's go and take a look at that. Boom. This is going to be our website name that, once again, is the very start of our, I guess, deployment. This is where we're first visiting, which will take us to one of these 5 because I am located in North America. I will include a demonstration where I actually go on my phone and turn on a VPN so I can demonstrate to you that yes, this does work. I'm not pulling your guys' legs, so that will be at the very end of the video. So I will go ahead and pause the video and pick it back up once everything is done creating. All right, cool. There we go. Looks like our second Terraform script went ahead and deployed with no issue. So now let's go over here and look at our CloudFront URL. And we're actually going to go ahead and paste this in our search bar here. Boom. Look at that. So as you can see, it does say howdy, refresh the page, see the compute running this North America web server change. And you can see the private IP address, or I guess the whole host name, but that does include the private IP address there. And then right below it, it does say this web server is one of 3, which was set up via our manual Terraform config. And if you guys remember, that was over here. Let's go to North America. That's going to be, let's see, it's going to be these guys right here. So let's find one. There we go. That's going to be one of these guys where we manually put in the script to build the instance, and the auto-scaling group didn't do it. But the cool thing about this one is we're going to refresh. Oh, we got another one. And there we go. See, this one was actually set up with an auto-scaling group. So rather than being one of those 3 that we were manually configuring, it was actually set up with our auto-scaling configuration right over here. So yeah, we can do that as many times as we want until we get bored. I think that's enough. I think you guys get the point. And we will be routed between these instances. So the last couple things to touch on were this. We can go through some of it in the console too. We already saw our CloudFront distribution. If we do go over to EC2, go right over here, and we can see we do have 5 instances running. And if you notice, we actually are in the Tokyo region. So you can see our 2 instances that were set up with our load balancer that I was too lazy to name. And then you can see our 3 manually configured instances as well over here. So you can see this is our second application load balancer, the one in Tokyo. But if we do go over to North Virginia, we will see something very similar. I think we might see 7. You can see, yeah, because 2 of these are going to be my Cloud9 environments, but you can see, boom, boom, boom. These are all going to be our manually configured ones. You can see we just have application load balancer number 1, but you can also see, once again, our 2 load balancer, configured instances, or instances that were set up with a load balancer. So with that said, I think that's all I wanted to show you guys for this one. So let's go ahead and actually destroy all of our infrastructure, and we can wrap it up and kind of bring you to the demonstration. But one of the reasons I do a lot of my labbing on Terraform rather than just clicking around in the console is it's much faster and it's much cheaper. So as you can see how quickly I was able to build all of that infrastructure that did all of that crazy stuff. And then I'm done demonstrating it, so we can say Terraform destroy, and boom, it's gone. I'm not accruing costs or forgetting to turn things off or making a mess of my cloud. It's just a few very simple commands, and I can set up all of the labs I want without being worried about extra costs or any of that. So yeah, let's wrap it up, and I will go ahead and put a video in right after this segment of it working in Tokyo, and then after that I will do my conclusion, I guess. Alright, so we are here in our VPN. You can see I was connected to Tokyo, and I'm going to go ahead and refresh a few times to show you that all the same functionality is there that was in North America, but we are using Tokyo-based resources. So now we're going to go ahead and shut the VPN off and then hop right back over to our website here. And you can see we are now in the North America region. So there's my live demonstration of everything kind of working back to back. Alright, so that's all I had for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed that video as much as I enjoyed making it. I am loving Terraform so far. It's helping a ton with my solutions architect studies, and I plan to do more. And if you made it this far, let me know if I should do more Terraform related videos. And I think it would be super fun because I taught myself pretty much all of this from the ground up. I didn't do any real classes on it. I did a couple-hour Terraform class just to learn how to, I guess, use the syntax a little bit. But other than that, I learned it just by looking through documentation and breaking stuff and trying it again. So I think it'd be kind of fun for me to teach it almost the way I learned it, where there's a lot of breaking stuff and there's a lot of just trying it out. Like, I wonder if this will work. I wonder if it won't. Why won't it work? Let's make it work. So once again, thank you guys for watching. Feel free to drop a comment. I will respond to all of you. Have a great rest of your week.